Well, we somehow made it through another year, so might as well look back on it with a little end-of-year recap. So this is something I've seen a few other YouTubers do, and figured I'd throw my hat in the arena just because I'm pretty new to posting 25th scale builds on YouTube. So the majority of the work that I've done this year was not posted on YouTube. So we'll go ahead and start off with this first build, which I technically started in December 2023. But the goal for this build was I was going to NNL North, or NNL West, and they had a theme of anything but four wheels. So this was going to be my entry to that class. And I ended up coming up with the idea of doing a what-if build to show what Ford of England could have done to compete with Morgan in the early 1900s. So this is a 1929 Ford Model A Roadster by Revell that I converted into a Morgan-style three-wheeler. So first off, I took the body, narrowed the rear end, kind of tapered it to cover the rear wheel. The chassis is pretty much all scratch built. I 3D printed the Model A style wheels. I found I think it's a 1917 Harley Davidson engine, which I threw up on the front of this. I found a yoke from a dragster kit sitting in my stash and threw it all together. This was a very rushed build, so not a lot of detail or anything. It was just kind of a fun time killer, I guess. It was also nice because I don't do a ton of body work, and it's something I need improvement on. So it was nice having this as a way of experimenting with that. It took a lot of sectioning to get the rear end to look like this, so it was nice using it as a practice session of sorts. I also don't do a ton of clean paint jobs, so this also acted as a bit of a practice for that. It has a few imperfections here and there, mainly two glue blobs that still scream out to me to this day. But again, just a quick build, and it was built to fit a theme, so I did end up actually having a little bit of extra time, which then gets us into our second build of the year. I had a little bit of time left on my hands before NNL West, so I decided to do one more very quick build, and that was this Schwalbe KR 51 scooter by Chris Bizzle over on Cults. This is a fully 3D printed kit, with the one exception being the headlight lens that I had found somewhere in my stash. The kit is pretty much as he designed it, with the addition of a different set of wheels and a beer tap style shifter that I had designed myself. The Schwalbes are kind of a niche subculture in Germany from my understanding. They're an old scooter from the 50s and 60s that people like to lower like this and do a rat style type build. So this is my attempt at kind of recreating that look. Again, it was a very quick build, but I'm still pretty happy with it for being just a little thing that it is. While attending NNL West, I had the goal in mind to pick up a kit for this year's 24-hour build-off. I didn't have any kits that I really wanted to sacrifice for the build-off, so I did a little bit of shopping there and ended up buying this 58 Impala, if I'm correct. For the intention of building it for the 24-hour build-off. Now, for those that are not familiar, the 24-hour build-off is hosted on Facebook over the course of the weekend that the 24 Hours of Daytona occurs. And the idea behind the build is that you start it at noon Saturday in your time zone, and you build until noon Sunday in your time zone. I have a little bit of a funky work schedule, or at least I did back then, where I had Sunday and Mondays off, so I ended up starting mine on Sunday and went until noon on Monday. And this is the build that I ended up coming up with. It is kind of an old school cruiser lowrider type thing, and basically I have a soft spot for pink and white 50s cars, like the 56 Chevys, the Nash Americans, anything that was pink and white, I am kind of a sucker for. So this was done up in that style. This is the... Oof, I'm going to forget. Was this the AMT kit? I can't remember. I'm going to throw up an image here just to make sure I'm correct. But the main goal I had for this build was in the 2023 24-hour build off, I did up the Revell Mark I GTI Golf. And I had run out of time for doing the rear suspension because I was lowering it. So I wanted to make sure this car was actually complete, but still had some suspension work done on it. So I ended up lowering the rear end, kept the front at a stock height, and then adding a 3D printed motor, which is going to be a upgraded W block that I believe it was a Scale Auto Works. I'm going to add the designer here, but I really liked it just because it's a lot more detailed than the kit motor, and I was a big fan of the 6-pack carburetor setup that came with it. I did design a few parts for this as well. I designed up the Bellflower exhaust tips, and if you look through the rear window, it has a Moss Rods lowrider plaque that I had also designed. I also just wanted to mention, if you're watching this within the first few weeks of the video has gone up, the 24-hour build-off happens the second to last weekend of January this month, and I highly, highly recommend you do it if you can. It's really fun. Don't take it too serious. You have 24 hours. It's just so much fun. There's a Facebook group. I'll link it in the bio. Highly, highly recommend it if you want. Now this is a little bit of a stretch in calling it a build. However, it is something I did design and paint and assemble this year. So coming into the spring and summer, I was planning on moving from Montana to California, and due to a lot of drama with moving companies and life in general, I was basically in limbo from about February to my move in July due to the move constantly being delayed. So I had not attempted any serious builds, but I had been doing a lot of 3D printing, 3D modeling, because that was just what I could do at the time. So I ended up designing this early style engine hoist based on some photos that I had seen going around Instagram, Facebook, and whatnot, and ended up painting it and bringing it over to N&L North because I had not really built anything new, so wanted something to display. There's also this whole story, maybe I'll tell it someday, but basically all my kits that I had brought to N&L North got destroyed in transit, so this was kind of the only thing I had to display there, along with the pickup truck that I was able to kind of piece together. But that's a story for a different video. But yeah, this was just a very straightforward build, and I guess maybe I'll insert a shameless plug here, but if you're interested, I have this design licensed to Joel at Iceman Collections, and you can go ahead and purchase the kit from him and assemble it and paint it up and add it to your diorama if you want. It's a super fun kit. I love designing it. It's super easy. It's basically the upper arm and then the pallet fork type chassis, and it's a great way of adding a display or detail to your display, and it's one of the few things I have out there that you don't need a 3D printer for. So if you're interested, link for that's going to be in the bio. And now if we fast forward to late summer, early fall, we have my first build that I was able to complete after moving back to California. So this is a 56 Chevy that I had done up for the summer car show themed build off over on Instagram, and the whole build was basically centered around the engine. So during my limbo phase, I had designed up a Thixton hop-up kit for a Chevy 235, including a dog bone intake, Stromberg 97 carburetors, a finned finned valve cover, finned side valve cover, all sorts of stuff. So this was the build that I did basically around the motor. Has a ton of other detail parts that I had designed, including the roof rack. It has a set of rear taillights where one of them is flipped out to show you the gas cap, as you can see. I designed up a car club plaque for it. Really fun build. At some point I'll probably do a whole video on this, but for now, this is what you're going to get. And we're going to close out with my last build that I was able to finish this year, and if you've been watching my channel for the last month, you know it well. This is my 1930 AV8 hot rod that I had built, also based around the motor. So back in the spring, I designed up this Impala supercharger kit, and again, this was just my chance to use something I designed in a finished build. So that's pretty much it. That was all I was able to do this year. Again, I took about 4 or 5 months off building due to the move, so I wasn't able to build as much as I would have liked. So hopefully that's somewhere I can improve in 2025. But yeah, appreciate you guys watching. And I guess the one thing I'll close out with is, at the time of filming, it is currently December 30th. This is going to go up on December 31st. This weekend is the final NNL West. And I'm sure if you're in the modeling scene, this has been beaten to death at this point, but highly recommend you go. I went this year. It was my first time going. Maybe it's just the small town, rural Montana in me speaking, but it was quite an amazing model show. It's the biggest I've ever been to. It's the most involved. The participation is unreal. And so I highly recommend you guys go if you can. I'm going to be there. And if you want, look for a tall guy, long hair and a beard, wearing a shirt with my logo on it. And I would love to actually meet some of you guys. That's what I really loved about going to NNL West this year, was it actually allowed me to meet a lot of people that I had met through social media and YouTube over the last few years. So, love meeting other people in the hobby. And also, I guess if you're interested, reach out to me on Instagram. And if I have time, I can print out some parts. And if there's anything you want, check my cult. It's always linked in my bio or in the video description. If there's any parts you're interested in, shoot me a message on Instagram. We can talk out a deal. And if I have time, I'll print some out and bring them to NNL West, and we can do a little deal there. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. I know I'm very new to this, but I do appreciate all the love you guys have been providing this year. It's crazy how supportive you all are. And hopefully I can bring some more builds for you next year. I wish you all the best of luck, the best of health, the best of everything in the year 2025. Lord knows we'll need it. So have a great day, great night. Take care.